Enemy UAV online.
God damn it!
Who knew video games can make you so angry and mad? Video games are supposed to be a light and fun experience. But does it look like this man is having a lot of fun?
Get out of the way!
No. I don't blame him after all. The game is rigged against him. How so? Let me show you.
What the?
When you play a game like chess, you are given a set amount of pieces to play with. You use these pieces to your advantage because they're all you're given. This is to be expected after all. You bought the game, didn't you? You'd expect the full value of the chessboard you spend money on. You see, in a video game like Call of Duty, the companies are able to constantly update the game, giving it new content for the consumers to enjoy. While this is perfectly fine, the game developers of COD, Activision Blizzard, use this feature of online gaming to their advantage, constantly adding new ways for consumers to pay for a game they already bought.
Okay guys, we have a hit new game on the market. Modern Warfare is doing fantastic. But how do we make more money off of it?
So I was thinking, we have this in-game store, right? But consumers aren't biting. So, what if you made a battle pass?
Ugh, really? I mean, isn't every other game doing it? I get that it's a solid business plan, but I don't think our consumers are gonna bite onto something that every other game is doing.
Ah, but you see, here's the catch. Other battle passes only have cosmetic items. Ours will have improved weapons in them as well. So this will make consumers feel like they paid for something better than normal.
I like it!
Wait. We're making it pay to win? You're telling me that every single loyal customer who's been with us since World at War is gonna have to buy something to help them win the game?
Yes.
Unbelievable.
Andrew, you're fired. Go work on Overwatch 2. Ranjit, we're gonna be rich!
This method of thinking is unfortunately common in the gaming industry. Game companies' unapologetic greed and money hunger has left a beautiful industry to be oversaturated. But how did humans come to be so greedy? Furthermore, how did game companies become so greedy? And how do game companies seem to collapse after amassing such success?
There's too much grind in this!
Let's face it, everyone hates wasting time, and game companies know exactly how to take advantage of this. As we saw with Gamer Rowan over there, Ubisoft likes to make their games incredibly grindy. The way they do this is they slow down how fast you can earn experience in the game, and how fast you can collect materials that you need to beat the game. This means that you generally have to spend a lot more time to level yourself up or to get items that you would need. But Ubisoft made their own solution to this. They use their in-game store to sell you time savers. As we saw in the other shot with Gamer Rowan, he was looking through the store and looking at the time series they could have used to make himself level up faster or give himself better equipment. So, this brings up the question of why are people susceptible to Ubisoft's tricks? The answer is quite simple. Brain chemistry. Instant gratification gives people a massive dopamine rush, and this dopamine rush makes people want to do the instant gratification stuff faster and more, because dopamine is the thing that makes people happy. Ubisoft took advantage of this with their time saver packs. Because they made their games incredibly grindy and then put in those time saver packs to be able to let you get levels quicker, Buying those time store packs gives you that dopamine rush to make you happier faster. Gamer Rowan here, if you were to buy those time store packs, those time store packs would give him that dopamine rush, which would cause him to buy those packs more and more. This means that they basically get you addicted to buying those packs because they give you the happiness faster.
And now, a message from the future.
Ranjit from the future here. So Ranjit from the past is an idiot and completely forgot to give any specifics onto why the Ubisoft model is so insidious. So before Assassin's Creed Origins released, every single Assassin's Creed game took around 20 hours to beat and took around 60 hours to 100%. And this is pretty standard for the industry. A lot of games take 20 hours to beat and take generally longer to 100% because they put in a bunch of extra stuff that you might want to see, might not want to see. It's up to the player. But after Origins, Ubisoft fundamentally changed how the Assassin's Creed formula is handled. Before Origins, the player would just be carried from story mission to story mission. There generally was no leveling up. The combat stayed the same. You held 2 buttons and you basically won the game. But after Origins, they decided that Assassin's Creed needed to be taken in a more RPG style of gameplay. This meant that they added in levels, and level-capped enemies, and level-capped areas, and also level-capped items. And so, with Origins, it wasn't that bad. It was Ubisoft's first foray into the RPG style of game. They didn't grind it down too much. The game took 30 hours to complete the story of, and around 80 hours to 100%. Again, that's pretty standard for the gaming industry, sorry. But Odyssey is where they really made the game just awful. So Assassin's Creed Odyssey takes 42 hours to beat the story of. That's slightly under 2 entire days of playing the game. And that's if you play it non-stop. And the game takes over 130 hours to 100%. Just think about that. Let that settle in. Over 130 hours. That's over 4 days of consecutive playing. And that's where the time savers come in. They literally help you save some of those 2 days or over 4 days of playing. And that's why they're so insidious. Ubisoft created their own problem and then created their own solution. They made a game that took far too long to beat for any person and then sold you time savers so you could pay to not play the game that you paid $60 for.
For hundreds of thousands of years, humans have been doing many things to make their lives easier and save time. One example of this is tools. Tools were originally created as a way for humans to offload doing work from their own bodies to simple machines doing the work. And this can be followed throughout the entirety of human history. Early humans made tools such as knives, spears, and bows to make hunting animals and butchering them easier. And early farmers made tools such as the hoe and the pickaxe to make tilling their own land easier. And you might ask, how does this relate to Ubisoft time savers? Well, it could be argued Ubisoft is doing the same exact thing. They're creating their own solution to their own problem. They're helping you save time by selling the solution to you. Much like how the blacksmiths of olden times made lives easier for their people by selling farmers' tools to make farming easier, or by selling hunters' tools to make hunting easier. Why? Why does Ubisoft torpedo its own reputation in favor of short-term profits? The answer is simple. Greed. Studies have shown that dopamine and greed are actually linked. And what this means is that the craving for money is shown to be the same as the craving for drugs.
Money. Money's just money. It's not money. It's not money. It's not money.
The issue with any drug or any drug-like substance is that you need to constantly be taking more and more of it to keep on getting the same amount of highs. And because greed is acting like the drug on the brain, this means that leaders take questionable decisions in their pursuits of money. They keep on wanting to make higher and higher profits, and because of that, they start taking decisions that will negatively impact the consumers and the consumers' goodwill. So because of this means that consumers' goodwill is secondary to the corporation's pursuit of money.
Come on, give me that sweet, sweet epic.
Now you may be wondering how this poor gamer got into this situation. Well, the answer is quite simple. The video game company known as Electronic Arts took advantage of his primitive monkey brain, leading to this. Now, we all know humans love gambling. The risk and the possibility that it just might pay off, it really gets the dopamine running. In short, it's exciting. We've even seen a love for gambling from our monkey cousins. A study was done where monkeys were set to gamble, and they consistently chose the higher gambles with higher rewards, as well as when they thought they had a chance of winning, they would just go all in. Now, this love of gambling translated to game companies implementing a mechanic in their games where you could buy or earn loot boxes that, which when opened, would give you a random chance to win a random item. It is without a doubt gambling. Now, even though you could earn loot boxes, it is much easier and much faster to just buy them. Harking back to our earlier point, where these games would be made in an intentional way that would make them slower and grindier to influence the way that you buy these microtransactions. Now this leads to people spending real-life money on virtual goods, NFTs. This is heightened when the items you could win give you a competitive edge over other players, such as in Electronic Arts video game, 2017 video game Battlefront 2. Game companies have many methods of tricking players into buying their microtransactions. One of which that really interests me is the act of disguising a loss as a win. This method of tricking people into gambling has been used extensively before. For example, slot machines. When you win at a slot machine, you are rewarded with a payout as well as audio-visual stimuli. In layman terms, makes you feel good. However, there are cases in which you spend more money than you actually get back. But you still get that stimulus. It is the act of making that loss feel like you won. Unsurprisingly, game companies use a very similar method when it comes to loot boxes. When you open a loot box, it never will just tell you what you got, but it has like these cool sounds. It has a wooden box being broken open, futuristic box sliding open with this cool sound. Then the item you got just jumps out at you, almost usually literally. The first thing you see is the color, which denotes the rarity of what you got. You see that gold light and you get it. You finally get that legendary skin you've wanted for so long. But so what? In the end, it's just useless. It's just pixels from a game that you will eventually stop playing for the upgraded model, only for the cycle to just continue on and on. And now, you're out $10. Now, obviously, loot boxes have many negative effects on people because it is essentially just gambling without any real restrictions. There is no age limit, so children might be spending their parents' money, and it could lead to gambling addiction and even lead to gambling relapse. The issue is that these companies couldn't care less because money. When asked if they have any ethical qualms about their use of loot boxes by the UK Parliament, Electronic Arts representative Kerry Hopkins said, "They aren't gambling, and we disagree that there's evidence that shows they lead to gambling. Yes, spending money to win a random item is totally not gambling." She even goes on to compare their surprise mechanics to Kinder Surprise eggs, as if you weren't buying the goddamn egg for the chocolate and not the toy! So sorry about that, folks. I didn't know I had such a trigger. Let's move on. All this this just begs the question, why? We know that big game companies couldn't care less about what they do to their loyal customers. But why don't they care? They aren't robots. They know what it's like to be human. But they do these things anyway. The simple answer is money. Obviously they want money. It makes the world go round. It's the entire reason why they got together and made a company in the first place. But I think it goes much deeper than that. It's just too easy. That loyal consumer base is the only reason why they can do all these things. Sure, you hate these companies with all your heart, but you still buy the next FIFA, the next Call of Duty, the next Overwatch. You know you shouldn't be spending all your money on these loot boxes, but in the end, you still do. Humans are massively flawed, and game companies take advantage of that. Now, of course, they are still terrible companies run by terrible people who have no souls. But we should also realize that we have our own problems. After all, without people spending their money, these companies wouldn't live to see another day. In the end, we shouldn't scream and shout without any action, but instead just take action. Stop buying the same game with a new name every year. Stop buying these time savers and stop buying loot boxes. The only person that can help is you.
Hey, Rowan, what you gonna do to those chickens?
I'm gonna kill them chickens.
Oh, fuck Murray.
Yeah, Rose is becoming.